This is PRIME7 Local News with Madeleine Collignon, Kenny Hinkley and meteorologist Carl Linders with your local weather. Now, PRIME7 Local News at 6.
Tonight, job losses are feared as the Wangaratta woolen mill is bought out by Bendigo.
Why Albury scores top marks for railway station safety.
The push to honour a border sporting icon.
And the rain is set to continue for midweek. Your weather details tonight.
But first tonight, a massive police raid in Yarrawonga.
And it's a raid that'll go down in history for all the wrong reasons. Detectives have raided a house on Zorro Drive, arresting people and seizing drugs and cash. Eleanor Tabone is in Yarrawonga. And Eleanor, what's the latest?
Police have confirmed to PRIME7 News that today's seizure is the biggest in Yarrawonga's history. But it wasn't only drugs police discovered. Stolen tools, more than $10,000 in cash and a luxury Holden car were also discovered. 2 men and a woman have been arrested and they're facing a raft of charges, including trafficking of ice, handling of stolen goods, dealing in the proceeds of crime, theft and stealing a car. They'll appear in court soon.
Eleanor Tabone in Yarrawonga, thank you. There are fears of job losses in Wangaratta tonight after the sale of the local woolen mills business to Bendigo Woolen Mills. Up to 50 jobs might go when the sale is finalised by October.
It's a tale of two big industry players fighting over the small hand-knitting yarn market. But after acquiring Wangaratta Woolen Mills and associated company Australian Country Spinners, Bendigo Woolen Mills is now the biggest manufacturer and distributor of hand-knitting yarn in Australia and New Zealand.
It makes a lot of sense to bring the two players together to more effectively compete.
But that's little comfort for the 50 workers at Wangaratta Woolen Mill. The site will continue to manufacture iconic brands such as Pattons, Check Eden, Panda and Shepherd, but the future of its employees is far from certain.
It's unclear about how many or whether it's one site, not the other. It's really unclear, so people are really nervous about stepping out of line just in case they miss out on those opportunities.
The company has offered their staff counselling and career transition support as well as compensation.
All of our staff have been provided with an indicative redundancy package.
The union fears if nothing is done, the flow-on effect could damage many in the community. For now, it's a nervous wait.
We'll be looking at seeking to find these answers out from the company and as quickly as possible.
Josh Riberich, PRIME7 News.
There's a claim tonight that railway station safety in Albury is top-notch. New South Wales Railways is running a new campaign targeting bad behaviour on public transport, and it seems Albury is doing a good job.
The message is simple: follow the rules and you'll help save lives. Operation Explorer is about stamping out train-related crime across New South Wales.
Growing incidences in rural and regional areas of people being detected on the running lines.
Police on the border are convinced locals are doing a good job keeping crime at bay, and compared with many other stations, police are adamant Albury Station is safe.
There is not many reports of violence or drug-related offences at Albury Station.
Inspector Woodward says the low crime rate is a credit to the Force, Council and Railway Station in keeping crime rate at a minimal.
It's a safe environment, it's well lighted, it's well maintained, the platform is looking spectacular.
And today, demonstrating how the Force is targeting drug use on public transport, Inspector Woodward says it's safe for residents to get on board.
And I urge anybody who has doubts about travelling via rail to give it a go and see for yourself that it is a safe station.
Eleanor Tabone, PRIME7 News.
The pay dispute stalemate between Wangaratta Council and its workers has intensified, with staff members prepared to walk off the job from this Friday. Council says it's working with staff to establish a new deal, but the union maintains workers aren't being listened to.
It's been more than a year and Wangaratta Council is still no closer to locking in a new pay deal with its staff. Late last month, just over half its workforce voted down the latest offer, which included a 1.5% pay rise at the expense of allowances and annual performance bonuses. The Australian Services Union says changes to termination clauses are also concerning. Now, after another failed counteroffer yesterday, the union says staff have had enough.
Members have felt they're not ready they're not prepared to move any further than what they have at this stage.
Council hopes to reach a resolution soon, but if not, come Friday, up to a quarter of its staff could take protected industrial action.
The ASU had given us assurances that while we were still at the table and negotiating in good faith, that they would hold off on industrial action, but they've obviously decided that's not the way they want to go, and they've pulled the trigger on that.
Council says it's now preparing to put measures in place to minimise the impact on the delivery of key services if staff walk off the job.
If they start to not respond to call-outs in emergency situations, if they're not clearing rubbish in public areas, and not doing some of those things that have a direct impact on community members.
It's hoped Thursday's meeting may provide some solutions to the dispute and end the industrial action before it begins.
Let's actually have the discussion and the negotiation first rather than jumping straight to industrial action. So we'll still go to that meeting on Thursday in good faith. We're still there to try and resolve it.
But the union says it's a two-way street.
We want to get a deal across the table with Council, but Council have got to listen to what their employees want.
Josh Ribrich, PRIME7 News.
Farmers say crippling power prices are one of the biggest threats of our time to agriculture. They're concerned competition means regional consumers are being slugged with a far heftier power bill than those in major cities.
A lack of competition in retail power markets means regional consumers are paying some of the highest prices in the country. A typical household in Dubbo, for example, pays $2,300 per year on power. That same household in Sydney's Darlinghurst pays only $1,700. New South Wales farmers are concerned given prices are on the rise. The cost of electricity is one of the biggest threats to country business.
If it's not the biggest threat, it's possibly in the top 2 or 3.
We do get slugged every quarter with a hefty bill, and that eats into your bottom line.
It means some farmers are forced to turn to fuel.
We are a big irrigator, and we're currently using diesel because electricity is too expensive to run the pumps with.
It hits them in terms of input costs, but also hits them in terms of the farm gate. So processors are passing on their electricity costs.
The problem comes from competition, so farmers say that's where the solution lies. Farmers want better market regulation and transparency from retailers.
And we've already called for a banking style comparison rate for electricity markets, so users can compare apples with apples.
Serena Nastasi, PRIME7 News.
Well, it's over to our meteorologist, Carl Linders, for a brief look at our local weather.
And Carl, we had a bit of rain rolling across the region today.
Yes, Maddie, a lot of rain falling across the region right now as well. Hello, everybody. Let's get straight into it. As you can see, plenty of rain on the radar behind the temperatures. Capped at 11 degrees at Wangaratta today, 7 millimetres of rain, been 10 millimetres at Bright. But down the road at Mount Buller, 41 millimetres of rain so far, and winds gusting in excess of 100 kilometres an hour, courtesy of this band of, well, significant cloud sitting through the southern part of the country, is all connected to a strong cold front that's going to bring snow back to our part of the world. And we can see continuous rainfall still stacking up against the ranges there, particularly on the northern slopes. There is a flood watch out for the Upper Murray, Ovens, Kings and Kira Valley at the moment. So the rain will be quite heavy between around now and around 6 a.m. tomorrow. So just be aware of flash flooding, particularly around alpine resorts with snow melt. So I'll be back with more on this crazy weather, guys, in 20 minutes.
There's a lot going on. All right, mate, we'll catch you a bit later. Thanks.
Still to come in PRIME7 News, how country drivers are being given a second chance.
And the masterclass from a master chef bringing Indigenous food to the border.
Stay in touch 24/7 with PRIME7 News.
Motorists are being given a second chance after changes to driver disqualification laws. It's aimed at giving breathing room to country drivers with public transport options hard to come by.
Reprieve for disqualified drivers, a parliamentary inquiry into law and safety finding the current traffic offenders program isn't working.
Having heavy penalties, having long disqualification periods, sometimes up to 20, 30, 40 years, is not working. It's not discouraging people from driving while disqualified.
Each year, 700 people go to jail as a result of driver disqualifications in New South Wales alone. The recommended incentives-based scheme still looks to drive down the road toll. Serious offences will continue to face harsh penalties, but others will get a second chance.
They will be able to apply to the local court after a period of 2 years or 4 years, depending on what they have done, to get their licences back. So this gives people an incentive to do the right thing.
Rural communities were at the centre of the announcement. Public transport is limited in the bush, driving sometimes a necessity.
If you don't have a car, you don't have access to school, to jobs, to take your kids to the doctors. It's another world out here in terms of public transport. There are simply no other options.
The new scheme also aims to change the number of Indigenous people facing jail time for driving offences.
They actually make up in excess of 14% of those who are in prison for driving while disqualified. So, as the Attorney mentioned, regional people are disproportionately affected by this, but so are the Aboriginal communities.
Louise Cadell, PRIME7 News.
Eczema is a nasty and uncomfortable rash that affects 1 in 4 Australian children under the age of 2. It impacted one family so severely that they've created their own natural soaps, and it's made a difference.
Sarah Cass's daughter Mary suffered severe eczema until the age of 4. It was painful and difficult to treat. It was so severe Sarah had to cover Mary in bandages to stop the scratching. After trying dozens of treatments, Sarah put her head down and researched what she could do to find a better treatment.
I just wanted to make a product from scratch so I knew what was in it, and to use on her skin in her flare-ups, and it worked.
Sarah lives and works on a small farm. She started making natural soaps from her garden, lavender, rosemary, even milking her own goat for milk, coming up with a soap that stopped the pain for her daughter.
With Mary, it just cleared her up. They do outgrow like eczema, but the flare-ups will continue to come right up, sometimes through adulthood as well. So prevention's better than cure, so we just always try and use natural products.
Sarah now sells her soaps at local markets, in shops and online, and she couldn't have done it without the help from a federal government program, Australian Small Business Advisory Service, where she learned how to start a business.
We can help people find the right information and help them be able to ask the right questions of those professionals when they're seeking advice. Because quite often people sort of don't know who to approach, what information they should be getting.
Mary is now 7, and while the eczema has gone away, her mum wishes to help other families suffering the same problem. Sarah may be able to help you too. You can learn more about her treatments online at the Lansdowne Farm Facebook page. Lucy Samuels, PRIME7 News.
Local cooking students today got some special advice from a renowned Indigenous chef today. In the one-off masterclass, Mark Olive showed students how to use ingredients found only in Australia.
New to the trade, Wodonga TAFE students today scored some insider advice. Mark Olive says students need to understand how they can incorporate native ingredients into their cooking.
Let's face it, we've embraced every other culture except what's in our own country, which is really sad.
Mr. Olive says Australians are lucky to have access to such an array of ingredients, and he says by learning how to use these ingredients, future chefs can create outstanding dishes.
Showcase it to other chefs around the world. They're astounded. They're just blown away that we've got this stuff that they've never used.
Mark Olive is known for his Indigenous cooking. Using native ingredients such as quandongs, his cooking success story is now inspiring cooks across the border.
Just can't really wait to incorporate it and then put it out there to the public.
While others say they just can't wait to get cooking.
Yeah, I'd like to incorporate a bit more Indigenous spices and herbs.
Today's cooking class is part of a Victorian Government initiative Back to Work program. Eleanor Tabarron, PRIME7 News.
Still to come in PRIME7 News, the venue for this year's footy final is locked down.
And the push to rename a royal park after sporting royalty.
The Albury United Football Club wants to immortalise border sporting icon Les O'Brien. Mr O'Brien died suddenly on Friday. Now the local football community wants to immortalise the O'Brien name by renaming Alexandra Park after Les himself.
It's a site that Les O'Brien would have been immensely proud of. Hundreds of youngsters enjoying the sport he loved so much. He spent decades developing young talent here on the border, and now momentum is building to rename the venue after Les.
To have that track named after him, and the kids can go there and they can run there, and when they do their achievements, they can dedicate it back to Les. That track that they won at is dedicated to him.
Alexandra Park was named after British royalty, and Chambers has got the ball rolling to have that changed. He's lodged a written proposal to Albury Council and created this Facebook page, which has already got more than 500 likes. And Chambers admits the response doesn't surprise him, given the man Les was.
He's touched so many lives over the years, Les. He's been involved, like I said, in many organisations, and every organisation he was a mentor to everyone, and he talked to everyone.
Les was a huge figure across a number of different sports here on the border, but athletics was always his #1 passion, training many of the young rising stars braving the weather here today. And within the local athletics community, the name change does feel like a no-brainer.
Well, I'm hoping they do change it to the Les O'Brien athletic track, because he's spent a lot of time here and he's helped a lot of children.
The most recent venue name change on the border was the Lauren Jackson Sports Centre back in 2011. The council has received the formal request from the soccer club and will consider the change. Fletcher Doherty, PRIME7 News.
Yakandanda's Lee Dale has won the 2017 Barton Medal. The midfielder won with 27 votes, including 7 best on-ground performances. Thaguna's Aidan Brown finished second, 7 votes behind. Even though Yakandanda didn't make the finals, it was a big night for the club, with full forward Trent Castles also taking home the leading goal kicker award with 111 goals for the season. The Thunder's senior league season may have come to a disappointing end at the weekend, but there is a silver lining for the border club. Albury is this year's overall Group 9 club champions.
The Albury Thunder faced some dark moments this year on and off the field, but the club can be excited about what looks like a bright future. Although the seniors missed finals, finishing 7th, the border club is set to be crowned this year's club champions.
The club's in a very good place, and we're very excited by the performances of our lower grade, like the under-16s and under-18s, and league tag were minor premiers, as were the 16s, and reserve grade finished second. So the club looks like it's in a good place.
The club championship is awarded to the club with the most total points tallied by wins from across all grades, from seniors down to under-16s. And it's got O'Connell and new coach Adrian Purtell excited for next season and beyond.
The future's bright, and I know that's one of the reasons why Adrian Purtell's very keen to get involved and develop that junior talent, and hopefully, we can rely on homegrown talent into the future.
O'Connell admits some of the older statesmen of the club are now weighing up their future, but the prospect of playing under Purtell next year has many players already excited for 2018. Fletcher Doherty, PRIME7 News.
The Ovens and Murray League has decided that September's grand final isn't going anywhere, at least not this year. The O&M board had to decide between Albury Sports Ground and Lavington. They've decided Lavington Sports Ground is still the best option for the border's premier sporting event. The grand final will be on a Saturday this year for the first time since 1980. The rain has moved in and it looks like there's a fair bit more on the way. Don't go away, Carl is back with a look at what we have ahead in the weather stakes in just a moment. It's back to Carl for a more detailed look at our local weather.
And Carl, there's more rain on the way as we head through tonight and tomorrow as well, by the look of it.
Maddie. A very wet week on the way for the district, which is welcome for some, not for the snowfields though. Tonight we've got a cold front that's linking up with this northwest cloud band. So at 8 o'clock tonight, we're expecting it to start to move towards our part of the world. Significant rain to be along that line and a period of rain to follow that through to around mid-morning tomorrow. Between that, we'll have an unstable westerly flow. So we're looking at quite a significant amount of showers on Thursday and Friday, with winds turning into the southwest. Here we go. So very cool air coming up from the south, and then high pressure to come in for at least one fine day. And then I'm going to keep an eye on this system. This one looks like it may develop into quite a significant rain event early next week, and then models are fairly neutral beyond that. But at this stage, it's looking like a very wet week across the ranges, particularly tonight, with rain falling across all alpine resorts. Up to 100 millimetres is expected tonight on the alpine peaks, and then a further 50 to 100 millimetres on top of that, mainly falling as snow, and 25 to 50 elsewhere through our district. So a wet week on the way, which is not unwelcome for some of us. Rain, as I said, contracting out to the east tomorrow. Some showers, the odd isolated thunderstorm is possible, particularly on the western slopes of the Great Dividing Range. And we will see the rain turn to snow late in the day, particularly above 1,500 metres. There are severe weather warnings out tonight for damaging winds and heavy rainfall across elevated parts of our district. And keep in mind those flood watches out for the district too. That will continue into Thursday with showers, widespread hail and afternoon thunderstorms, snow down to 1,000 metres late in the day on Thursday. It's Friday, we have a very wet day. That'll be the wetter day as well through the district. Thunderstorms becoming more scattered, lots of showers and rain, and snow becoming quite heavy and tending to blizzards at times above 500 metres around the alpine resorts at night. So be quite unstable if you're going up for a ski on the weekend. Very, very heavy snow expected. Now on Friday, we could see half a metre of snow at the resorts, another 20 millimetres around Albury. We may see the showers ease on Sunday, but next week I think we could see another 30 millimetres of rain, guys, through the district.
So, Carl, people are saying Blizzard of Oz take 2 for this.
Oh, look, I think that's a bit much.
Yeah?
I'm sorry to put a count on it, but I think it's looking very heavy, but not quite yet.
We'll get an update tomorrow.
Thanks,
mate.
Bye.
See ya. Now let's take a look at petrol prices around the region. Albury drivers can find unleaded for about $1.22, while across the border the average unleaded price is about $1.20. In Halong, the average price for diesel is around $1.27, and in Corowa, unleaded is $1.29.
And that's all we have time for tonight. You can join the debate on tonight's stories on Facebook.
And also watch tonight's top stories on our website. Thanks for your company. Coming up, 7 News from Melbourne. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.